Thank you for joining Multifamily Talks, a Real Page podcast. On this episode of the show, I'm joined by Darren Williams, president and founder of Portico Property Management. Based in Houston, Texas, Portico professionally manages approximately 15,000 units across multiple markets and asset types. Our conversation stretches across multiple subjects, but thematically centered around building a company culture where people want to work hard, prioritize enjoying their time, and of course, what would a multifamily conversation sound like if we did not broach the subjects of centralization and artificial intelligence? I guess we'll have to wait for another episode to figure that one out, and with that, let's get to the show. Well, hey, Darren, number one, thank you for coming in and helping me break this brand new studio in.
It smells new. It's got that new studio smell.
New studio smell, exactly. Why don't we do this? Obviously, you and I have known each other for a long time. You know, just to let the audience in on a little secret to begin with, I used to work for you a long time ago. But I'd love it for you if you could kind of introduce yourself to the audience. Give us a little bit about your background, how you got into this industry, and then we'll kind of dive into kind of the Portico story.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Andrew. We knew each other back when there was no gray in these beards.
That's true.
That's a minute ago.
And actually, I think neither one of us had a beard back then.
Probably right. I can't think back that far. Yeah, I'm Darren Williams, president of Portico Property Management. I didn't grow up in the industry, as you well know. Fell to it late. And I actually think that's part of the reason I have such a passion for it, and probably has helped make me successful because I just didn't grow up knowing every which way. So I'd come in and ask dumb questions and break things and enjoyed it. But I love the industry, and we can talk a little about why. But yeah, started Portico 12 years ago because our company that we worked at sold, and I kind of was at a crossroads and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life and knew the clock was ticking. It's probably my last chance if I wanted to try it on my own. And if we're being honest, I just thought it would do it and it would fail. And then I'd go work for Camden or somewhere. And that's what I thought would happen. But I at least then could say, I tried it. And then it was failing for a long time. And then you get a lucky break and then it didn't fail. And then you look around and go, well, shit, we may have to do this. So that was 12 years ago. Today we're about 15,000 units, 6 markets. Slow and steady. You're not going to see us up at 300,000 units or anything. That's not what we want.
Well, and that's one of the things you shared with me very beginning when you started the company, was that your vision for it was not to be the biggest operator out there. Your vision was to be, the best operator in the niche that you work in. Yeah. And, we want to talk a little bit about your website and how it was built, not from a technological perspective, but basically from a wording perspective.
Because you're going to realize quickly I don't know.
Well, no, it's reading your website. It was funny because obviously, I know you, I know your story well, but I still am like, I need to go do my research. I need to be diligent about this. Let's go on thing. It was like I was hearing you talk. Yeah. So I do want to kind of get in and find out how much of that was you literally dictating to somebody and put that in there, what those efforts were.
I'll tell you, yeah.
But what's on there is, the niches you've kind of put yourself into, at least public out there. Yeah. Conventional housing, obviously, but lease ups and build to rent. Yeah. Why those? Why'd you fall into, or was that intentional?
No, that's the fall part, right? So let's talk about it. I don't want to be big, and it's only because I don't know how to do it. There's folks that have figured it out and they do a great job, and I have nothing but respect. I personally don't know how, because my style is I start with people, and to me, you need to be really good at operations. You need a really good regional director. You just do. And you were a regional. I was a regional. I love that job. I think it's one of the best jobs in the world. I miss it. I'd go back. Take my phone. I'm going to go back and be a regional.
I have a few recruiters who are probably going to call me that. So.
I would take it. I'm accepting job offers. And then I want to keep the workload manageable, right? So I want them to have 6 properties, okay? Because 6 direct reports, once you get above that, now I'm not being purposeful. I'm just reacting. So through my experience, I've said if I have a good regional, I have those 6 properties. Well, if I do that, Andrew, at 300,000 units, how many regionals do I need?
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Need like 180. Do you know 180 good regionals?
No.
You don't.
Perfectly honest.
I don't either. So there's my conundrum. Even if I wanted to be 300,000 units, the way my mind works, I can't do it. So I worked the problem backwards. I said, well, how many good regionals do I know? And I came up with a number, and then I extrapolated and went, all right, I think I can be 25, 30,000 units. I think I can do a good job. That's the path. So we're halfway there. I think, depends on the day you ask me. Do I think we do a good job? I do, but the truth is I'm not built that way. Somebody says you're doing a good job and my brain turns off. I want to know what we're screwing up. Yeah, like we're going to screw things up. Yep. And so I want to know where we're screwing up to get it better. So that's why I don't want to be big, because I don't think I could do it well. And some other folks do, and they are doing a great job. They figured something out I can't do it. So we fall into stuff. Look, I wish I could have told you that I had some great vision that BTR was the future. I heard about it. I liked it, but we pitched someone and we won. And then we went, we got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And as I've learned, I will tell you what it's done for us. It's invigorated the entire company. We've been doing it about 3.5 years. You can only do the same thing over and over for so long before you get bored, right? And we've done, the people that have been with me, and they've done it for 15 years. They've like, I understand how to do this. I can do it in my sleep. Well, all of a sudden something came along that we couldn't do in our sleep. And I looked around and there was excitement, there was energy, there was vigor. And we're like, we got to figure this out. It's a little like student housing was 20 years ago, if you remember. Oh, yeah. All of a sudden it's like, it's mostly the same as multifamily, about 80%, but there are differences. Those differences are accretive. Let's figure it out before anyone else. And all of a sudden my company was excited again. So we've leaned into it. I think we do a good job, but we're still building the airplane as we are trying to land it. And so, we fell into it. I wish I could tell you it was some plan, but once it fell in our lap, I'm at least smart enough to go, this might be cool. We better do something.
Well, and I appreciate you acknowledging the fact that
I'm dumb lucky all the time.
No.
Yes,
that the BTR is similar, but not exactly the same.
Very similar.
I go to, different conferences that are build to rent conferences. I go to and meet with folks, but I had the opportunity last year when I was building my house to actually live at a build to rent community that you guys were operating.
Yes, sir.
And that perspective of being the resident there, and then hearing the way people in the industry think the residents are and the demographics and everything else, after my experience, I'm like, you're living in a different world. Yeah. Like it is, you get the SFR folks who are, it's completely different. We're the only ones who can do it. It's, we have the better margins, et cetera. And I look at it and go, no, there's a lot of similarities to multifamily. So. And then there's some on the multifamily side, they're like, oh, that's exactly like a multifamily. And I'm like, when your maintenance supervisor is actually at property B versus property A and something's going on, it's a different world. And
I'm going to share a story with you that I probably shouldn't, but that's why you invite me to these things.
Absolutely.
So we understood. We got our first client, Next Metro. They're an amazing client, and they've done a great job. We've learned a lot from them. Yep. I didn't want to screw it up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put myself and we're going to figure this out. So I send my best leasing consultant in the city to our first lease up with him. And he's not leasing, and he's leased everywhere. Could sell snow to an Eskimo. So I'm like personally involved. I'd like fly in, like, brother, what's going on? And what it was is he didn't get the product and he didn't believe in it because he was 25, Andrew.
Yeah.
And the brass ring for a leasing consultant all our lives has been newer, sexier downtown product. I want an infinity edge pool. I want the big tower in the sky. And we sent him to Salina, Texas. He thought he was in trouble. He did. He's like, what did I do to piss you off, man? Like, you sent me to like a place I didn't even know existed. And I'm selling this tiny home that I wouldn't live in because I want to be. And I was like, so what did we do? Like, he doesn't get it. We immediately scrapped our training program, started over with a module that said, we have to teach our teams why this is popular. Yeah, you wouldn't live there, brother, but these are the folks that want to. Here's why it's important. Let's sell that. And all of a sudden it took off. But I didn't know until I just talked to him that he's like, I don't get it. I wouldn't live here. Well, you can't sell something you wouldn't live in. Right. So I just broke down everything. So we got to start again. And my team and RK and everybody helped me build it, and we got better at it. But we didn't know till we got our hands dirty.
So you've come back to a pretty consistent theme in like the 5 minutes we've been talking about, and that's people, which is actually one of the reasons I really wanted to bring you on. And again, I've experienced it firsthand, but going on your website, I want to read just a quote, and then we'll talk about a couple of things. Especially as we grow, I'm passionate about retaining the best of Portico's culture. That's why having fun is one of our official company values.
No doubt.
How do you think about, and then how do you go about doing it? How do you think about getting that talent that is top notch, but also understands that working hard can be fun?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, look, let's start a little higher level. Culture is an overused word, and yet it's the guiding force for me because culture trumps everything else. It trumps strategy. We can change our strategy every day. It would be dumb to do so, but you could. You can change rents every day. There's so many things we can change. Culture, you can't build immediately. You can trash it immediately. But I think culture drives everything. And listen, life's too short. I don't want to get dark, but it's very short, right? We have this smidge of amount of time, and we spend most of that time at work. So if we are not, enjoying, that's where the fun part comes in, what we do. My litmus test, Andrew, when the alarm goes off, I want to be excited. I want to jump out of bed and say, Let's go solve problems. Let's go kick ass with people I like. And if we're not doing that, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, why would you even waste a minute? My least favorite folks are the folks, and I just weed them out of my life, that are complaining about their job. I don't mind that part. And I'm like, let me help you change it. Either change your job or go get another job. Life's too short. Don't go to a place that doesn't inspire you and challenge you. And these things come across, I think, because I believe them authentically. It's not something I'm just slapping on the website.
Right.
I live it. And so I tell our people, I swear you could ask any of our people, if you're unhappy, raise your hand. I want to help make you happy. And if I can't, I'll help you find the job. Don't go around my back. Don't go like, I have a dentist appointment, and you're just tell me. And we're going to treat each other like adults, and let me find the place that makes you whole. Because that's what you should do. And if we're not the place, because we're not everybody's cup of tea. In fact, we have a regional. It's like, you guys are hard. I like you. And this is my place now. But the first 6 months, you're hard. And I was like, well, tell me all about that. And I'll tell you a little about what it was. But I want to find the best people. And when you are authentic about your culture and you tell people what it is, then they self-select in. And that's how you get the people you're looking for. You can't first date it. You know what a first date is? That we're only.
It's been a long time since I've
well, me too. Yeah, me too.
27 years.
But at a first date, you're trying to just show your good parts, right? And that's what happens in the interview process.
Right.
You're not saying, hey, I'm a little crazy. Like, you're saying, I'm going to hide that till date number 12. We don't do that. We at Portico, I say, here's the stuff. I'm going to give you all the stuff. It's like almost reverse recruiting. I am. I'm like, let me tell you why you're not going to like it, possibly. And then at the end, they can go, does that sound like, maybe it's crazy, but maybe it's my particular brand of crazy. And I think that's what helps us with the retention, because we're honest about who we are. Here, we suck at this, and we're pretty good at this. This we're good at, but it's annoying. Does that sound like something you want? And I'll tell you that it's so rare, I didn't think it was, that they're like, I don't know if I've ever had an interview like that. Actually, that is exactly what I want. And they self-select in. And then because we didn't hide who we are, well, they're going to stay because there's no surprises.
There's no discovery process.
This is who we are. Yeah. And that's what I'm passionate about. And we have, man, it's my new stat. I didn't know this at Verde. We merged a little semi-merger back in 2016. I took over some assets and brought them in. We inherited some folks. We had a gal that's still with us. I love her to death, Kara Markovsky. And she said, somebody was coming back. She goes, that's a boomerang. I said, what's a boomerang? She goes, yeah, when they leave and come back. I said,
we got a lot of those here real quick.
Love that, right? Yeah. So I started tracking them. And right now we have 25 active boomerangs. That's about 10%. I love that, because if we're treating people well on the way out and saying, hey, go find your spot, and then they go, no, that was my spot, then I want that all day. Come on back. So yeah, we got a guy that's come back 4 times. I'm like, are you just doing this to like set a record? And brother, what? Like, I mean, if we need to get to 5, I'll fire you, hire the next day. Like, what do you need to do? Exactly. So that was a long-winded answer, but that's where the authenticity comes, is that I believe that. I used to be a recruiter. Don't go work where you don't love. And if it ain't here, it doesn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah. No, I like that you say, we're not for everybody.
We're not.
How do you think about then as a company, you've grown to 15,000. Yeah. You threw a number out there of 25 to 30, which is it's going to be doubling at that point. Yeah. In your mind, which comes first, the growth or the talent?
Talent, always. I mean, the things that keep me up at night, it's finding enough talent. And it's competitive out there, right?
Yeah.
Look, so I think there's healthy turnover, and I think there's bad turnover, right? Healthy turnover is somebody got an opportunity that we didn't have for them. They got promoted. I hugged them. What a great thing. And I feel like we're part of their story, and it's awesome. And I hope we grow, and then you come back and you boomerang. Yay. But we have a lot of healthy turnover. But the problem is, once you're good at something, there's a target on your back. So because we were the first big mover operationally BTR in Dallas, well, everybody that was going into BTR is like, well, just go steal a Portico person. So we've had multiple people get promoted. That's awesome. But that's what how do we keep talent? Well, you're a baseball fan, right?
Yep,
so
absolutely.
We went through this literally 2 days ago with my team. They were all in town. They're saying, hey, our biggest issue right now, Andrew, is people are paying so much more, and the client says we can't. And I said, I get it. So there's 2 things we can do. One is, it's our job to educate the client. We're going to go get the data. We're going to say, here's what it is. We're going to educate it. But we're also going to be innovative, because the solution can't always be just toss money at a problem.
Right.
So I have them literally, and you'll know this because you're a baseball fan. I said, let's pull up the standings right now. I said, who's the richest team out there? It's the 2 New York teams. Where are they at in the standings? The bottom, brother.
Trash.
Both in the bottom.
Yep.
Now, what's Tampa Bay's payroll? It's 27th. They're at the top of the standings because they don't have the money. They had to innovate. So they innovated in a very particular way. They built up their farm team. How are we going to innovate? We've got to do the same thing. So how am I going to fight this? We're going to keep building our talent pipeline. We're going to keep developing our people, because if I can't afford the new regional price, then I better grow a regional. And that's how we're going to do it. And if we don't do it, we'll fail.
So you brought up something I've thought a lot about recently. I'm going to throw out the first of the bingo buzzwords in the industry.
I'm ready for it.
Centralization.
Okay.
Centralization to me, when I hear that word, I actually think specialization, because
100%.
a lot of the centralization models I hear about are actually completely decentralized. But I grew up in the industry. Like I said, I started as a resident assistant and ended up being a leasing manager and community manager, all those type of things.
How many kegs did you have to throw away? A lot?
Yes, a lot.
You made some friends.
I was an RA for 2 years, a resident director for 2 years. Yeah, yes, a lot.
Right.
Better was my 5'4", 120-pound wife taking kegs away from football players. That she was much better at it.
I'd be scared of her.
Absolutely.
You don't scare her. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, exactly. But my point with all that is, when I was a leasing manager, we had a very specific program to develop you into a community manager.
Yeah.
With centralization and a lot of those same skills that a manager needs to build really being pulled away. A, what is your thoughts around centralization? How are you thinking about implementing it as a third-party management company as well?
Yeah.
But then how is that playing into your development? And have we thought about how to build that next regional manager in a centralized
as we change?
Change.
Yeah, we think about it a lot. Full disclosure, we're not, everybody's thinking about it.
Right.
So I don't sit around thinking that Portico's at the cutting edge of this, but we're having the conversations a lot. We had them a lot this week because we're all in person. So let's start with the concept that what we ask our managers to do in the traditional model is already bonkers crazy.
Right.
It is. I mean, we talk about it. We're asking them to be able to build a team and be a good leader and be great at customer service and be great at marketing, so they can go market their community, and to be able to problem solve and, hey, really work through some issues. Oh, and you're going to do accounting? Like, do you know people good at those 7 things?
And the pathway to that, I always tear apart, because usually those community managers started off as a leasing professional who was really good at selling and closing that. Yeah.
We've talked a lot.
Yes. Then we put him as an assistant community manager traditionally, which means you lock him in a back room and make him do all admin stuff.
Dumbest thing ever in the world.
Which doesn't teach them how to lead at all. And then you give them the keys to a multi-million-dollar asset, because that's the asset management portion that you left out of that little development. A lot of them respected that. It's amazing they survive.
It's insane. And if you remember when we first started working together, I'm like, why? Because I didn't come from there. So why do we do this? Well, I don't know. Well, let's stop doing it. And that's why we made MIT, and we said, here's a different path. We've already asked our managers to do insane things. And so taking some of these off the plate and centralizing them or specializing makes all the sense in the world, regardless if you're going to save money. Like, it's the right thing to do. Nobody would build it from the ground up that way anymore. It's just what we got, right? So already I think that trend is positive, because if I can take more accounting off, now I can go hire people that are great at leasing and customer service, because those kind of skill sets go together. So I think that's a positive trend, regardless if we're all saying, hey, we're going to go drive and save money. Now, I have 2 thoughts on it. One is, because you've asked me, me before this, you said, Darren, you care about people, so are you going to worry as we might eliminate jobs? Of course we do. My solution, my answer then, and it's on the mic, is what's our choice? Like, technology does not go backwards. It is inexorable, forward marching constantly. Right. And I think you and I talked about this last time we chatted. Do you remember that? And we already talked about this. Do you remember the first time you had self-checkout? It was 1 lane.
Yeah.
And there were 10 people ready for you. And I ask everybody, I bet you loved it. Did you love it or hate this?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
People like you love it. I just saved some time. Boom, I'm out of here. There were other people that hate it. When I ask why they hate it, they're like, I don't know how to do it. I don't want to be embarrassed. So it was about 50-50. Well, guess what it is now?
The Walmart down the street from my house is 100%.
100%. You couldn't even find a person. Nope. Right. And even the people that said they didn't like technology, when there was a line, said, well, let me go check it out. So it doesn't go backwards. Do you think a lot of people complained when it was happening? Constant. I bet there were people going, this is stupid. I bet their workers said it was terrible. Everybody complained. It's still, technology doesn't go backwards, Andrew. So even if I don't do it, let's say Portico says we're never, ever going to centralize. We're never going to use AI. We're doing it this way. As our competitors do it and beat us, and then we're forced to do it.
Right.
So you're either going to disrupt or you're going to be disrupted. What is your choice? So even if I hated it, which I don't, I have concerns. We don't have a choice. So then what I think a progressive, people-centered company has to do is have honest, transparent conversations. Guys, this is the world that's happening. Let's chat about it. How is it going to disrupt us? What are we going to do to prepare for that? And you make them part of the conversation. They may not like what they're hearing, but it's out. I'm the messenger.
Right.
I didn't invent it. It's here. What do we do? And then we still have values. So how can we take this next technology? It's just a tool. All these things are tools. How do we make them work at Portico in a way that is consistent with who we are? And we have that conversation. Andrew, is it always perfect? No. People are going to get pissed off. People are going to say, I don't like that. I know. So let's work through it together. That's the only gift I can give our folks is you're going to be part of the solution. I can't give much more than that.
So when you say you have that conversation, how is that conversation happening at Portico? Is it you with the regionals and then going down?
Yeah, we start with the team and say, what does this mean and how do we do it? So I'll give you something we went through just this week. And you go to properties. You were at one of our properties. Yep. And I asked, what are we doing well? What are we not? I never told them, hey, this is a VIP. I'd like, you better do a good job like we would with anybody. And I bet there were things we screwed up and there's some things we probably did well. That's called a life, right? Yep. That's the business. We went through, one of the things that surprised me when I go on properties is the phone's constantly ringing. And I'm always like, why is it ringing? Right. So we made a whiteboard list and said, what are folks calling for? And it was about 5 things. And I said, okay, do we have the technology that they can get these answers in other ways? Of course we do. You can give a maintenance request you don't need to call. You can get a lease you don't need to call. There's really no reason for you to call. And I said, well, then why are they calling? Well, sometimes they prefer it. I said, nope, that's the wrong answer. And we went through it. And finally, they're like, we don't know. I think sometimes they just prefer it or it's easier. I said, it's definitely not it. I said, do your residents order from Amazon? Oh, yeah, boxes everywhere. I said, okay. Uber Eats? Oh, God, yeah. There's like a queue at the gate and they're coming in. I said, did they call either of those on the phone? And they're like, no. I said, then our answer is they love it when they can get what they want without calling. We haven't done a good enough job doing it. Well, we have it, but they don't know. Or we have it. It hasn't become so seamless and easy that they do it because they've already said they would do it. They just did it. They didn't call the Uber Eats guy. They did it. So our is not together enough yet because if we do it, if we solve that, I promise you the phone will stop ringing. And you know what my solution might be? Take out the phone. Let's burn the ships right now. Let's figure it out. Yeah. Because I don't think they just woke up saying, I would love to use the phone because they're not for those other technologies. So what it means is we haven't done a good enough job. So those are the conversations we have. How will we do it? And that's part of it to say, well, do we educate them? What do we take away? Because if we can take some of these functions away, then maybe we can change the jobs. Like if you don't have to answer the phone all the time, now what are you doing? So now maybe we can restructure. Yes, we'll specialize some things. Now your job maybe becomes, do you think if I start to change the job roles and say, hey, we may have to go from 4 people in office to 2. We may have to start to do this. We're not going to go do mass layoffs. What we're going to do is through attrition and retraining and talking. That's how we're going to do. Do you think they're really, Andrew, they're going to be like, man, I really miss taking all those calls about work orders?
Not in the least.
No. So now I get to give them some of the stuff they actually enjoy doing. All that time I gave you, now you can go engage with your residents. Now you can really start solving problems. That's the conversation. It's not, I will always tell them, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Anyone that says they do, they don't know. But I can tell you that technology is coming. It's not going backwards. So let's start talking about how we'll use it here in a way we feel good about.
Okay. So lots of things I want to go off of that one. Let's stick with the technology question for a second. Obviously, RealPage technology company, so no loaded answers. Yeah. What's the technology that you see on the horizon that you're excited about?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm sure RealPage will buy it if they don't have it already. So, I keep getting buzzes on my phone. Did you guys buy another company? Like, why are we?
No, not that I've seen today. Normally the alarms go off around here. There's a big disco ball that drops. Yeah.
I can't wait for that. It's a really great question. I'm trying to think if I have the right answer. I think it's probably the answer I just gave. Look, last time you and I chatted, I don't think of us, I told you, our competitors aren't Greystar or somebody else. It is these other companies that I always say, look, our competitors are Uber and Amazon because
customer experience.
They really are because they consumers, everything is so seamless and easy now that when they come to us, they expect it to be just as seamless and easy. And apartments are not seamless and easy.
They're not.
Are they better? Sure. COVID advanced that technology very fast, right? When you have a disruption like that. So we're better when you and I were first in the industry, it was terribly antiquated. It's gotten a lot better, but it's still not seamless. Brother, let's just be honest. You want honesty and candor here? You lived in one of our communities.
Yep.
You left. How long ago did you leave?
I moved out in my last official day there was December 31st. I was out the second week in
It's a
December.
long time ago.
Yes, it is.
Do you have your deposit check back?
Do you really want me to answer
I
that
do.
question for you?
Absolutely.
I have not received my deposit check
So
yet.
what is going wrong, right? And so no, I don't need that. So think about it. I mean, there's just when you're used to Amazon and Uber,
Yeah.
and you come to an apartment, everything's a little more clunky. That's problematic. So the technology, and I don't think it's a technology problem. I think all the technologies maybe don't speak as well together, and there's always integration issues and there's challenges. And so that's the chat. So we probably have enough technology. Are we using it correctly? Is it playing nice with all the technology? And then where is the breakdown? So of course, look, we screw things up. We've obviously screwed something up here. So it's like, where's that breakdown? But I think residents get pissed off because they're like, I expect it to be just as easy, and it's not.
Yeah, I'll give an anecdote since you brought it up. And
Yeah.
as being
I'll
a
take my
resident.
beating. It's fine.
No, it's not. It's not a you thing. I think that I'm going to use another buzzword bingo card.
Yeah.
I think that AI has a lot of applications through this entire process, and it's one of the things I'm the most excited about. But when I was a resident on your property, without exaggeration, between tour through move out, I had 5 different apps.
Wow.
To facilitate on that property.
Yeah.
And I didn't download the 6th because I didn't want to operate the garage door with my phone.
Absolutely.
I'm perfectly happy with a keypad. I can do that.
Even me, yeah.
But between touring,
Absolutely.
resident relations, different one for work orders, different one for actually paying rent. It was 5 apps.
Yeah.
And you're right, none of them talk to each other.
Yeah.
And I think that is a huge opportunity that we're working on quite candidly. I'll give a little bit of the real page add on there. But having these different siloed solutions that do things really well, that can then educate a different solution, not just integrate, but actually make it better.
Yeah.
Pass learnings back and forth, not just data back and forth.
Right.
That's definitely one that.
And really and look, I know you think the same, or well, it's been 15 years, but we certainly, as we sat down over beers and tried to whiteboard things, we thought the same back then. Technology is a tool to solve a problem.
Yes.
And you got to start with the why, what are we trying to solve? And so I was laughing the other day. We'll get back to AI. I definitely want to have that conversation. But I was laughing. We were having the same conversation 2 days ago that you and I had 17 years ago. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in a time loop, right? Really Groundhog's Day here. And it was, we're not doing a good enough job on TikTok. Now, the same thing, if you remember, it was Facebook. The clients would go, we got to be on Facebook. And you and I would go, why? I mean, great. What do you want to accomplish with that? Well, our comp has it. Okay, so is that the only reason? Well, no. And you have to, do you think we're going to get leases through it? Yes. Well, how? Well, maybe not leases, but I think it would be good for the community. Well, how will it be good for engagement? That sounds good. So how will it be good for engagement? I'm not saying I don't think social media is useful. It clearly is useful. But if you don't start with the what and the why, then what you end up with is a solution with maybe not a problem or the wrong problem that it's trying to solve. And so I just don't think we ask those questions enough to just say, what are we trying to do? There's a lot of tools out there. Are we using them correctly? Are they solving the problem we want? Are they communicating? And the answer is probably not.
Well, and I do this with our sales teams here all the time, candidly, and they get sick of me saying this. But when you're presenting something, it's always why before how.
Yeah.
The how does not matter unless they understand the why.
I agree.
And I think that's the best question you have to ask is, and you said it there, is okay, for whatever, it's TikTok, it doesn't matter.
And they're important. I get it.
Right. But what are we trying to accomplish?
Exactly.
Let's start with the end in mind and then ask, is that actually going to lead us to that? And then the other thing that you've hinted on a couple of times, and I keep coming back to is it worth our time? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
I still use that. That's an Andrew Bowen line, and I trademarked it for you.
I appreciate that.
Give you a little royalty check.
And I would love to say
in 6 months.
I'd love to say I'd love to say I came up with it, but I didn't. But yeah, I mean, we only have so much bandwidth and so much effort, and especially your site teams, as you're describing.
Well, we talk about it all the time. They have maybe 10% bandwidth to roll out a new thing. So I have a lot of vendor friends. I've been in this. I know you do too. And they'll sometimes be like, hey, listen, can I get on your calendar? And I want to be a good person. I want to talk to all of them, you bet. But if there's so many solutions out there that would be a full-time job to just sit and take them all. I have another job. And even if I wanted to roll out your solution, if we're rolling out 1 or 2 already, I got to wait a year. And I'm impatient, you know that.
Yeah.
But we've talked about it before. We talked about it Verity. I can maybe do 3 things a year, because even if I want to speed it up, the folks on site are busy with all these things they're doing. They've got maybe 10% bandwidth. If I roll all this stuff out, what's going to happen? It's going to fail.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to do a good job. There was a company I knew, because they internalized management. Very good company. I respect them. I won't say their name. I'm still friends with the CEO. And they tried to roll out a new thing every month. And I said, do you know what, by like November, what happened to the January rollout? They forgot about it.
Yep.
Like, you can't absorb all that. So even when I love a solution, a lot of times I'm like, that's 2026. And I hate that. I wish I had a magic wand. I don't. So yeah. But when I was back with you and I would say these things about social media, I was still young enough they listen. Now they're like, he's a crotchety old man. He doesn't. We just need TikTok. Get it today.
So let's go down that path a little bit from
the crotchety old man one.
No. The change management and whatnot. Because it's been interesting. You know, as I've been having these conversations and the prep conversations for this series, something that has been coming up regularly, routinely, is the amount of, I'll just say the word, attention that people like yourself are getting from vendors.
Sure.
You know, meaning not so much the time they're spending, but just especially around a conference, the overwhelming onslaught of contact. How, as someone who is disciplined about, hey, we're only going to do this the year, because I know your planning process. I know that you actually on an annual basis have, these are the things that we're going to accomplish. And if you still do it the way you did, every meeting starts off with, here are the goals that we said that we're going to accomplish. Does this meet one of those goals? And is it specific?
And if not, put it on the parking lot.
Exactly.
It's a big parking lot list, brother.
I'm sure. How would you, as an executive, how would you like to both be informed about what's going on in the industry, but then also make that decision as to what's important and what's not? How do you balance that?
Sure. Poorly. It's tough, right? Because I am a little more crotchety about this. At the end of the day, if you want to sell something to me, the best way is to put me in touch with somebody that I respect that's using it and using it well. That's really what's going to matter to me. Because as a salesperson, your job is to say this is awesome.
Right.
So I apologize for discounting it. That's your job. I get it. But how is it awesome? I'm sure everybody always says their thing is the perfect solution. But I actually respect ones that are more honest about, hey, there are some tough parts, right? Because I know there are. Just tell me about them. But then connect me and just say, hey, I know you have a lot of respect for Steve Buck or somebody else. He's using it. He'd love to chat with you about it. I'm going to listen. Because he's going to tell me, yeah, we rolled it out. This part sucked. I think it might be better yet. I don't know. That's where I can engage. But then you have to be okay with my answer. Because there's a good friend of mine. I said, I love this and I won't get to it for 2 years. I rolled it out. We got to it. But I had to know, I know we're not going to, it would have to be so important for me to break what we did. Like, is this more important than anything we did? Because you say, is a juice worth a squeeze, which I still use. I say, if everything's important, nothing is. So
I use that one too. I stole it.
Let's see. I think we traded. That's a nice little we traded. We helped each other out. So I want to have the conversation. I like going to conferences because then I can be in that mode to say, tell me about it. Because I don't want to be a jerk. I want to understand. There is awesome things out there. Because if you put your head in the sand, then you miss these great solutions that are around there. So there are stuff. I'm a fanboy of some of the stuff we've rolled out. They do a great job. Then I become an advocate for them. I mean, one that you bought recently is Knock. Yeah. I think Knock is an amazing, amazing tool. I think Dimitri and those guys are smart. You got a good one. And I'll tell people that this has changed our company for the better. And so if there's technology like that, of course I want to talk about it.
So let's go back to people for a second. Because you mentioned a name in that thing of Steve Buck over at ZRS. Yeah. And I know actually there's a woman sitting in the room, your handler that you brought with you today, Robin Killian.
I got a couple of handlers that are. Yeah.
But you told me at one point that kind of the position that she's in now and how it's developed at Portico was really inspired by a position that you saw over at ZRS.
Absolutely.
How do you think about, how do you think about having an organic plan versus seeing something somebody else does well and saying, how do I incorporate that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Steve. I told him I'm stealing this. He's like, I think I stole it from somebody. Look, I always want to learn from other folks. Why reinvent the wheel? Like, so if there's a group out there that I think's smart and they're doing it. I mean, listen, we joke about this all the time. When we started Verde, I was starting from scratch. Yeah. And so I was like, who's the smartest company? And everybody said Camden. I said, well, let's just do what they're doing. Like, they have more money than us. They have more smart people. They went, so let's just do that. They'll be like our guinea pig team. And they tried it all because they were smart and they'd go out and try everyone. And they'd go, well, we landed on YieldStar. Great, we're doing Yield Star. I just saved myself money and time. And that's what we did. And the irony is very funny. Is we sold to Camden.
I was going to say.
And I'm sitting in rooms with Rick and Keith, and they go, this looks very familiar. I'm like, it should. It should look very familiar. I hope you don't arrest me. And they're like, oh, we stole stuff too. So look, I think I'm going to steal good ideas. When I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room because I'm not, right? And so one of the things we're passionate about is that we have open, honest debate, and like the best argument's going to win and the best idea is going to float to the top. So if somebody else has it, let's steal it. I love it, and I'll give them credit. Which I did. It's like Xerox, they did it. Yeah. Let's do that. It's great. That said, there are plenty of companies screwing things up and getting it wrong. So I'm going to try to pull the best ideas, but then we're going to say, does this work for us? Is there a better way? We're going to dig in and try to chop it up. And sometimes we're like, nope, that was perfect. And sometimes we're like, we can do this better. Because I hire really smart people. You know that. And I think my people are smarter than most people. So I'm going to give them a problem. Do they need to be nudged sometimes? Yes, they do. Because we get stuck in our way. But I believe in them. So I'll steal an idea and then I'll say, can you guys make this fit Portico or not? Or is there a better way? But my challenge for them is don't just look at those competitors. Look at Uber, look at what they're doing.
Right.
Think about, consumer industries, because that's what we are. Think about we said this before, so I'm repeating myself, but our customer, we should have the highest level of customer service of anyone in the world because I'm not selling you a taco. If you have a bad taco, dude, you're pissed for like 10 minutes. These people live with us.
You're still not over the breakfast tacos not being good in the room. Like, really?
I'm kidding. No, you have a bad taco and you're like, oh, it sucked. And then you forget about it the next day. You live with us, brother.
Yeah.
You fall in love, you raise kids, you're living at our community. We should have the very best customer service. So what I want to be inspired by is everybody that's giving great customer service, not just the apartment down the street.
So this is something I've been on a soapbox recently on. So with that exact thing in mind, why do you have a leasing office instead of a guest services office?
Oh, no. So you're going to love this conversation. My team is not going to love this conversation. That's why my VP of marketing is terrified right now. She's out there trying to bar the door. But I'm going to be candid. Do you know this phrase, burn the ships?
Yeah.
Okay. I believe in it, right? So it's the Spanish.
Cortez.
Yep. Comes in and he's worried if there's an escape route. So take away the escape route. So that's what I'm doing now. Look, I'm passionate about this. I'm going to share with you. I don't know how we're going to solve it, but we'll die trying if we don't. I'm passionate right now. The world is there about trying to find a way to either get a 4-day work week or some real flex space or real work from home for our on-site people. And that's very hard to do. There's a lot of challenges. I could do it for my team yesterday. Easy.
Right. Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. I'm not going to do it for our team until I can figure it out for the team on site. And my team has fully embraced it. We're not going to be the ones that are like, oh, so we can do it. You can't. So we spent most of the week going, how would we do it? Because there's a ton of challenges, but you can. And we're going to figure it out. And so what it requires is rethinking everything. It does.
Yeah.
And people are doing this, by the way. Please don't think Portico's at the cutting edge of this. The companies that own and operate, they own all their stuff, have a step ahead of us. They are.
Yeah, well, they can make decisions that you can't necessarily because they fund it. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's less about the funding. It's more about standardization. When you don't have standardization, now you have to rethink everything.
Okay.
And when your clients, some clients say, I would like Yardi. Some clients say, I would like Rubik. Some clients say, that makes everything harder.
Yeah.
Camden can go, we're going to do this. And they're doing it and they're doing a great job. I cannot do that. So I have extra challenges. Nobody, don't cry violently or anything, but we have extra challenges. I'm very committed to it. So we sat there this week and said, what would we have to do? And there's two things. One is, how do we still take care of the resident? And we can do it. We can give great customer service without even having somebody there, to be honest. We just have to solve the problems. And then how do we do it? And then what do those roles look like? And then how can I give you flexible time? If I can still solve the residents' problems and we can still lease and take care of your make, we can do all that. Then what do these roles do now? And there's still plenty to do.
Right.
So we start plugging that. Well, now if I have less on your plate, now I bet I can let you work from home one day because you can still follow up with residents, right? So it's redesigning all of that, but with one key function is I have to do it in a way that's going to convince all clients to buy in. Because if I have 8 that do it and 2 that don't, now I have a company that's in trouble because all of a sudden
2 different business models.
Yes. And even worse, think about this, because I have Portico's 4-day work week, yay. And they're like, oh, except you.
Unless you're on those sites, yeah.
And guess what happens now? Now they don't even want to be at those sites. So now I've hurt that client. So this is the conundrum. My team does not like that I'm sharing it live, but I'm burning the ships, Andrew. When my team calls tomorrow and says, when is it coming? I don't know. But we're focused on finding a way that people on site can have more flexibility, more life balance, all of that. And we're going to figure it out.
It's from I love that you're taking on the challenge.
I'll be drinking more.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Well, I mean, I'm sort of going like, hey, I want to get in that room and start planning and working on this stuff, etc.
We could use you.
But like when I started my career, I started for a company that had 3 cultures in it. So we had 3 different, all owned by us, with the exception of one group.
Okay. Yeah.
You had the high end stuff, which was the area I was in, and it was heavy into corporate housing, and it was. I mean, you remember jaywalking when he was on the Tonight Show? That was at one of my properties. He would come in and take that up. Then you had the conventional properties, so the non-corporate housing, the conventional properties, which were kind of a step. It was a step down. Like in people's minds, it was a step down. Then you had one particular portfolio that did everything different than even that, and it was like they were the ugly stepchild. And I'm not going to use their name because that portfolio is still out there. But that culture was real. Like if you were going over to this portfolio, you're on your way out. You felt like the leasing consultant who you put out in Salina at that point.
No offense to Salina. It's a lovely place.
It's a great place. But super smart that you're thinking through that, because that is a giant thing. So I've got to imagine, to take us to the last topic I really wanted us to dive into, I've got to imagine that technology is a part of that solution.
Yes.
How are you, maybe not within the context of that, but I can't imagine how you're thinking about anything other than in the context of that from an operations at this point. How do you see the use of artificial intelligence coming into the marketplace? Not just the buzzwords that are around ChatGPT and large language models, but kind of some of the bigger things as well.
Yeah. So good question. I was joking with you before we started up. Yeah, it's one of the few. I'm always in a good mood. You know this.
Yeah.
But about once a year, I'll have a couple glasses of whiskey and go, "Oh God, we're all going to die." Like it is bad. And my wife's like, she goes to bed. She's like, "I don't want to hear this again." But then I'll wake up and I'll see that our Roomba trapped itself in the bathroom. And I go, we got a few years. Like it's not here yet. I'm excited about it and I'm terrified about it at the same time. You cannot solve the problem I just laid out for you without technology.
Yeah.
Right? You can't. But I'm fearful of the thing you told me, which is there's a widget to solve all of these, but are they communicating? You just shared with you, like, well, there's 5 of them and it's annoying. So I don't think we're close enough yet to go, this is how it's going to work. And here's another one I just thought about. If you hire smart people, which I do in your team, they're like, oh yeah, it's easy. This is how you do it. Well, not every resident is going to think like that. They need this to be so seamless that it's like literally, I'll tell you something that COVID taught us that was interesting. If you're going to have fewer people or self-guided touring or anything, all this is stuff that's happening. It has to be obvious, like capital O obvious. Somebody walks up and goes, this is what I do. And here's the problem. When they walk up, what are they doing? Brother, they're looking at their phone.
Yeah.
They're not looking at the sign. I could put it in neon and be like this, and they don't even see it. So things have to be capital O obvious. This is what you need. This is how to get it. And nothing's capital O obvious. It's going to get them off their phone. So we're really thinking through that. Even if I have the widget that works, how do I get their attention?
Yeah.
Because they're taught. It's design theory, right? I come up, here's a door, there's somebody in it. So we have to, all this matters. And so I'm excited and terrified. AI is going to play a role in that, but I still have to make it in a way that solves the problem, right? There's a lot of cool tools out there, but how does it do it? And that's where I'm struggling right now is I have the technology, great. Is it communicating? Will the resident easily know what to do? The most simple, beautiful designs, I mean, that's where Steve Jobs was brilliant, is he's like, I want it to be obvious that you're going to touch it and it's going to open. That's the genius. Anybody can build the back end and make the phone smart, but is it so obvious? You watch kids, they know what to do. It's so intuitive. So is our technology that intuitive yet? I don't know, but we're going to find out.
I like the challenge, and I'll tell you again, kind of going back since I was a recent resident, and I'll go back to my story of the self-guided tour at the property. We talk about obvious, and this is going to be curse of knowledge. Like this is clearly my problem, curse of knowledge. I get to the property.
Yeah.
I pull in, I park in the visitor parking, and I can immediately see where the tour route is. Like it's pretty darn obvious. I can see the path. They've already given me the address of the door that I need to go through. Okay. Right. So I walked straight to the door saying, where's my code?
Yeah.
No. You have to start in the parking lot.
Okay.
Start the tour. So the tour is then following the GPS so it knows, and you have to follow its meta path that's on there. And I'm like, no.
I'm just here. I need this.
I'm here. I can see the model. This is not hard to identify. So even that obvious of, it has to be obvious that this is step A.
That's right.
And you have to take step A, B, C, D, E in order to get to F, where I'm the kind of person who's like, let's just get the F, in there. So it was an interesting anecdote of like,
it's spot on to what we're talking about. And does the technology work? Clearly does. But then what we've done is now not you, but I'm pissed off now if I can't get what I want. Now I'm like, why are you making me do it this way? This is dumb. Well, that's not where we want our consumers and customers and clients to be. So the technology, I'm convinced, is there. Is it obvious? Is it so intuitive that anyone can do it while they're distracted? Because that is the key. If COVID taught me anything, because we'd put these neon signs, oh, this is what you do. And they'd be like, well, I didn't see it. Of course you didn't see it. So you and I aren't going to change that. I don't have the magic wand to get them off their phone to look around and be, so I just have to, it's another problem to solve for. And I don't hear people talking about that problem, but it's the one, like, how do I make this obvious?
Yeah. So let's wrap up with a couple general questions. We've focused so much on people on this one, which I think is, and I say it all the time, it is the most important P of all the Ps within things, and this is coming from the pricing guy. Like, if you want me to improve or destroy a community's performance faster than anything else, let me hire or fire a bad manager. And I absolutely agree with you. The regional manager is probably the most critical piece of any operation.
The property manager is most important in our company, but the regional is the one that's hiring them and growing them. So that's how I think. But property manager, we don't have a good one. The regional has 6 good managers. Their job's easy. They should take Fridays off. If they don't,
I'm going to ask you to give the cheat code for the interviews with Portico.
Okay.
If I held your feet to the fire and said there is one most important trait in a Portico leader, and you can decide where leader is in your mind. Sure. What is that trait?
Stroke my ego. That's how you get hired here. Yeah, and they all know it. They'll say like, yeah, he's pretty smart. And I'll be like, oh, come have a beer, we'll hire. I'm going to cheat because I can't give one. I'll give 2 though. Okay. And I think they go hand in hand look, you got to be intelligent. And that intelligence shows itself through curiosity, right? That's
book smarter, street smarter, both.
Curious smart, right? Because we're in a flexible, changing world. And you've got to be curious about it and excited about it to go, hey, because the folks that you're either going to move along or you're going to get left behind, right? Like we are. McDonald's had the technology 5 years ago to run a store with one person.
Yeah.
Not worse, close. They had it.
Now I think they've got one that's doing it.
They didn't use it. Why didn't they use it?
It's a great question. I don't know.
PR. Okay. They didn't want to be the company that laid off a bunch of teenagers. It's a bad look. But they also are smart enough to know they're going to have to use it.
Yeah.
Because if Burger King goes and does it, they have no choice. Because now Burger King just brought their burger down half price. So they know it's coming. They didn't want to be the first, right?
Right.
I didn't talk to the CEO of McDonald's, but I read enough stuff and they had the technology. So to my point, like we're going to get left behind. I want smart, curious people, right? And then I want some grit, right? And I think that word gets overused now these days, but we're going to get knocked down. And if I'm doing my job, which most days I'm not doing it very well, but if I'm doing my job well, then we're going to create an environment where you feel safe to fail because we're going to fail. Yeah. Fail a lot. I'm going to get knocked down and then I want to get up and go, that hurt. Now I'm going to try it again. And if you don't have that grit, man, business is hard and it's really hard. And so we've really tried hard to say, you're allowed to fail. And I want you to feel that because I want you to come to me when you fail and tell me. I don't have to find it. If you're safe, you're going to go, yeah, man, this up. And I'm going to go, oh, well, how'd that go? And then I want you to share it because now we can learn. Failure probably is the fastest way to learn. Probably is.
Fail fast.
Fail really fast. Talk about why it was and try again.
Yeah.
And if we've done our job by creating that environment, then failure is not this onerous stigma. And I will tell you where we've screwed up. I said a regional said you guys are hard. I could tell you wanted to ask why. We got word that a regional was looking in the market. It's a small world, and I didn't want to lose her. So I called her. I just said, hey, I kind of heard you're looking. Is that true? She goes, well, I did take an interview, but I'm not really interested. I said, we can talk about it. I mean, what's going on? She said, I like it here. She said, but it's hard. First 6 months are hard. And so we ended up keeping her. She's great now. It was great at the time. She's outstanding. So I called her 6 months later. I said, hey, she's like, it's amazing. I said, well, what changed? She goes, the first 6 months are really hard here. I said, well, why? Are we f***ing something up? Did we tell me. Is it the process with 5 apps that Andrew went through? Let's fix it. She said, she said, it's a lot. There's a lot of stuff. And she goes, you guys have really high expectations. She's like, I've probably done 500 owners reports. I don't think anyone's ever read one in my life. I did my first one here and there was red pen. There were like 5 people going, that's not right. She goes, and I've never had that before. And I said, should we change that? She goes, no, but it's hard because I wasn't used to it. And I said, well, we should start training our people that, hey, we do have high expectations. We change things. And it makes me feel a little bad if people are getting beat up in the beginning. But what I'm trying to do is say, you're allowed to fail. Now, can you make the same mistake 5 times in a row? No. That's a conversation.
That's not failing forward.
But we're going to fail forward. And so the people part, that I'm looking for grit and smart. And then really, Andrew, my biggest challenge today is how do you keep the culture as you grow, right? And especially if you're people focused. Yep. And my team, they get nervous about this. Say, Darren, we're growing already. There's properties I haven't seen and there's people I don't know. And I'm used to, how will we do that? And I say, guys, great question. How will we do that? Because I don't have the tablets coming off the mountain with all the answers. Like you're the leadership team. Leadership's not easy. Yeah. You tell me. But we're struggling. Like, how do we do that? There's properties I haven't seen yet. And when you're at 20 properties, I know them all. And so can we keep that culture? And I think we can, but every company in the world from Google to Facebook to RealPage has worried about that and had varying degrees of success. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How do you guys do it? RealPage was this big when you started and now it's this big. How do you guys do that?
God, that is such a great question, Darren. I'll give you the answer that you've given us. Sometimes not all that well. Especially when you think about the way RealPage grew.
You're acquiring in different cultures and different everything.
Exactly. You acquired that different culture. And I will say, you mentioned the Knock acquisition. That was after Thoma Bravo took us private. That was after new leadership came in, all those things. As someone who's been here through 13 years and seen, I don't know how many acquisitions we have, it was so different in the way it was done. Both from I'm sure due diligence and everything else was different as well. I wasn't privy to all that, but from the way they were introduced to the organization, from the way leadership was introducing the organization to them, to the way that the culture has been integrated, from the way that, we talked about that integration of platforms. When this gets released, we'll be at Real World and we'll be talking about how the Knock platform is now, being will be influenced by like our AI revenue management platform, and it's being influenced by marketing and those types of things. So the reason I share that is because what was very different was that acquisition was not about, hey, we wanted a revenue stream or we wanted to grow, et cetera. I'm sure that's part of the strategy. It was very much a part of the strategy that was, here's a piece of the broader puzzle we were trying to put together. Sure. And that vision was shared with them right away of things are going to change. Because that was an important part. Things are going to change. And we've got a vision to accomplish this. And this is the way that Knock fits in that. And that started from the very top with Dana, our CEO, really over communicating that and bringing it through. Right now, we're obviously in a transition of we have massive projects right now to just improve the way RealPage operates. Sure. That was one of the opportunities I think Thoma Bravo saw. It's constant communication from the top. Yeah. And that's why I asked how it goes, because it's the same message that the CEO is giving us is the same message that business unit leaders are giving us. It's the same message you're hearing on all these levels, and it's bought in. And it's not just, the Portico promise that's on your website. Because when I read that, I'm like, oh, this is Darren. This is what he says literally every day. Yeah. I'm sure most people could repeat that off. And then it's living it, and again, it's living it at all levels. And we have a high level of expectations around RealPage, and it's very clearly communicated, and it's, when you hit it, and when you're not, and nobody has to guess as to where they're at.
Well, over communication. It's like you almost have to say it until you're bored of hearing it and tired of hearing it, and I think about that all the time. I'm like, you've heard everybody's heard these same sayings. You've heard it. You haven't worked for me 17 years. But then they'll remind me, but we got 20 new people.
Exactly.
So I get tired of my own BS, but then you got to keep communicating. So it really is tough. We have a State of the Union quarterly. We used to have Verde. I think it's next Thursday. I never like them. You know how hard it is to do well, you guys do, because you do them with calls with that many people. It's hard to have intimacy. It's hard to have anything, but they tell me that we need these. So we do them. And afterwards I'm always like, that probably was, and they're like, no, we need it. So it's one of those things that I'd rather get everybody in a room like immediately and talk to them, but we can't do that, right? We're everywhere, just like you guys are.
Well, yeah. I mean, and you mentioned that when we came in, I mean, it's a Friday. Here's we're recording this.
Yeah.
We're work everywhere kind of a company.
Absolutely.
But where this place starts hopping is on a monthly basis. Our CEO does a town hall. Yeah. And she's got the challenge of being able to do that not only just here, but you're talking about offices in India,
That's
offices in the Philippines, et cetera. So as an effort that probably 7 months ago, when we could actually start traveling internationally again, they conducted the town hall in Manila. They conducted the town hall in India. So again, it's that. And we do it monthly. So again, it's that refrain of that constant thing. And the same goals that were laid out at the acquisition are the same goals that we're working towards right now.
We're going to reiterate
don't
them.
change.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you better know it like a mantra. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So last question.
Yeah.
If you were to recommend one book,
I like this one.
What's the one book you would recommend to leaders in this industry?
That's a really good question. The problem is there's a lot of the ones you and I love, everybody knows, so you kind of want to go off the beaten path a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's one that you love too. It's tough because there's probably 3 of his books. Do you say Lencioni?
Yeah, Patrick Lencioni.
The one that's probably made the most impact. I think there's one that's probably better for the whole organization, which is the pyramid one. What's that?
5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
That one's a very good one. Yeah. But the 4
Obsessions of a CEO.
It's probably, when I was reading it, I was like, this is already how I think. Like, people read it now and they're like, you just ripped this book off. I'm like, no, I already kind of felt that. I felt there was somebody that was saying something so much more eloquently than I ever could. But I was reading it going, this is how I feel and believe that I think it's made me a better leader. It's because when and listen, I'm in charge of a company this size. I mean, that's one of my favorite things when we'll complain about challenges. They're like, well, Darren, it's so hard because we've got places everywhere. And I'm like, every company in the world, like Chick-fil-A or a hotel, like they all have, we're not this, poor Portico had to deal with this. I mean, look at what you have time. We have 3 time zones we got to worry about. You have literally every time zone to worry about. So there's always somebody that's had to deal with this problem. And that's where you go, well, how do you guys do it? But as your CEO, Scott, I couldn't even imagine. It's complex. And so you can feel overwhelmed because you're like, there's so many things that I've got to be, but that's not true. You don't have to be in charge of all these things. In fact, if you are, that's not what you're supposed to do, because you can't scale that. So when I get overwhelmed, which isn't often, but I'll go, okay, what am I responsible for? And it's 2 or 3 things. And then I'll go, well, am I doing these 2 or 3 things well? Nope. Okay, well then focus there. You don't have to worry about that. If you build the right team and you are clear about what a win looks like and give them all the tools, and then you got to trust them, right? That's where you have to say, okay, and you may not do it the way I would do it. And you may not even do it as well as I would do it. Probably a lot better, but you may not do it exactly the way I would do it, but I got to trust and let that go. I think the metaphor I'm going to use to end with, and then I'm going to ask you, well, no, the important question after this is, are you guys trading Ohtani? That's what I want to know. And then here's my metaphor. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, is it hard for you? You created this and now I said, it's not hard at all. I love giving it. It's actually what gets me out of bed. I like watching people soar and start to do things that they didn't even know they could do. That's what I like. So I don't need to control anything. I control less than I ever have before. My metaphor is bowling. We just went bowling the other night with the team. The little gutter rails.
Yeah.
My job as the president is to say, those pins down there, that's our goal, is to knock them down. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. And I'm going to just have these rails here. You can maybe spin it and maybe do something. Maybe you try to go as slow as you can. I don't care what it is. My job is to keep you out of falling in danger. I'm going to keep you on the path, but you have a lot of freedom in that path, brother. But my job is to tell you what the goal is. Do you need any more help? Do you need more tools? I get you the ball. And now I'm just going to try to keep you okay. And if I see you getting there, I'm going to go, hold on. Let's have a little chat. Let's get you back there. But then I let go, right? And let's see. That's the fun part of the journey. I'm not Portico anymore. We're all Portico now. And that's exciting because now they're going to take it in places I didn't even conceive.
Well, I can't think of a better way to end than on that little vision. So, Darren, I appreciate you coming in. Good luck to Portico and the rest of your vision on your way to 25 or 30,000.
I appreciate it very much. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Multifamily Talks, a Real Page podcast. As always, the views expressed are those of the individuals participating and not those of Real Page.